So, hello everyone. Good morning. So, I'm Frederico, Ayres Lima. So, I'm the CEO of Aperam South America. And I have two targets here today. The first one is to, together with the video you've seen, plus the next two videos you will see, give you a bit of the flavor of what Aperam South America is. So, this is my first target. The second one is that as you could not go to Brazil, as Tim said, because of the CO2, because of the logistics, I want with this presentation to leave you with the willingness to go one day. Because actually, I would say that there is only one thing we can do that is as good as our still, and is the caipirinha we can drink in the guest house there. So hope you will be there one day. When I was thinking on how to present you Aperam South America, I decided to focus on three pillars. People, so it's a very engaged and diverse team we have there in Brazil. Market, so it's a market of growth, it's a market of opportunities that we have. And the last one, the footprint of this unit. The unit that compiles, as you saw in the video, bioenergia and the Timóteo plant, both located in the state of Minas Gerais in Brazil. So I'll deep dive in all those three pillars so that you can then understand the business from this perspective. Starting with people. So Tim spoke a few words about it. And I think that when you look at that smiley friend that Thiago is speaking about, speaking that his father worked there and he works there for 20 years, you can get a bit of the feeling of how proud, how engaged we are as a team there in Brazil. One thing that Thiago has not mentioned, and it's important to state, is that he started in the company 20 years ago as an operator, and today is a manager in the hot strip mill. So I think this also complements the way we treat people, the way our people are important for us in the company. Another two aspects I would like to raise today for you, we can see in those charts. If you look at the chart on the chart on the left-hand side here, we have, as we saw in the video, our frequency rate of the unit, Aperam plus Aperam Bioenergia plus Timóteo plant. For those that are not familiar with those figures, what you have in the bars, in the gray bars, are the number of lost time injuries we had at the company. And in the red line there, you have what we call the frequency rate. For the frequency rate, we divide the number of events by the number of hours worked during that period. And I have two messages in this slide. The first one is that when you look at the 3 in 2023, that we were very sad because we were coming from 0 in 2022. But when you look at these 3, it means that all those almost 5,000 people working in a steel mill, 8 hours per day, but a mill that works 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. We had in the last 2 years only 3 people that could not work the day after the event, that the safety event they had. So this is, I mean, when you look at that, all the hours worked, it's a figure that is outstanding. Actually, as I also said in the video, the average of the stainless industry in the world is 3.46 for this frequency rate. So while we are at, in 2023, 0.2, the average of the industry is 3.45, so 46 to be precise. When I was building this chart, my idea was to put a line on where the sector is so that we could compare, but this line would be above the ceiling here if I could put it, if I would put it there. So this is the first point I would like to have in mind. And the second is still based on people and on engagement, is this, the second figure here. In Brazil, we have a business school that is a São Paulo University that has a context in which every year they evaluate through questionnaires, through audits at the site and interviews, they evaluate the companies in Brazil and they classify them as what they call poetically incredible companies to work for. In Brazil, we have always been recognized as a good company to work, and in the last 4 years, Aperam Bioenergia was elected the best company to work in the agricultural business in Brazil. And Timóteo plant was elected the second best to work in the steel metal and mining industry in Brazil. No need to tell you that when you speak about agriculture in Brazil, we have many big companies known by all of you. The same could apply for mining and metal industry. So it's a very, good result to be recognized in that way. So this, when we speak about people. The second asset I would like to discuss, the second of those three pillars, is the market. And for Mark, to start, I will explain what our products are. On the left-hand side here, you have the stainless steel. So that's easy for you to recognize as a product of Aperam for sure. So used in architecture and construction, as you saw in the stadium, we saw in the video. But also on the day-to-day, like the handrail you used on the stairs here, the lift of your house, the cutlery you use today, all these are made of stainless and well known as an Aperam product. But in Brazil, we have a second line of product that are the electrical steels. And inside the electrical steels, we have two main products. The GO, grain-oriented steels, that are used for transformers and for all stationary machines. So transformers, chargers for electric vehicles, and many other stationary electric machines use GO. And the GNO. The GNO are grain non-oriented, so rotatory machines, so rotating machines. And there we have the generators of electricity, aeolic, hydropower plants, and also the motors. So we could say that all the energy, electric energy, not all, but most of the electric energy we use is generated by using GNO, because you have rotary machines that produce electricity. And then to transform that energy and make it arrive to our homes, to make it arrive here, you have the GO. And then when you use it again, we have the GNO. So the electric vehicles, they have GNO in the motors. The motor you have in your air conditioning, your fridge, all this has GNO steels inside. And the special carbon grades that are, let's say, in revenue, not as important, but also is sort of a filler, a product we have in Brazil that helps us keep the competitiveness and the scale. I will deep dive in each of those products, but first I would like to show, because I spoke in the video about the volumes, but then how you see that in revenue. So in revenue, as you can see in the chart on the left-hand side, stainless is responsible for 70% of our revenue. And then we have the other products around 30%. So as I said in the video, 50% in volumes, and in revenues, 70%. And on the chart on the right-hand side, we see where stainless is applied. And the reason I put these two charts in this presentation is to show you the importance of having this diversified product range, because we have different products, as you see in the left-hand side, and even in the main one that is stainless, you see that is spread all over the economy, and particularly in Brazil. So this multi-product business in which you have many segments consuming is a sort of a natural hedging for this operation. It's a hedging because when a product is not performing well, we have alternatives and we have flexibility, as I will discuss in the coming slides. So going product line by product line, I would like to start with stainless steel, that, as you saw, is the main source of our revenue. On the chart on the left-hand side, we have in the bars the apparent consumption of the market. And what I would like you to notice here is that, one, it's a market that has always shown a reasonable growth, and that is expected to grow further. It's expected to grow because of the chart in the middle. In this chart in the middle, what I show is the apparent consumption per capita of stainless in Brazil. So how many kilos per habitant we consume every year in Brazil. And the message I would like you to have in mind here is that even comparing to developing countries like Mexico, we have a much lower apparent consumption per capita. So this shows a potential that Brazil has to grow the consumption of stainless. So this supports what I said when I spoke about the apparent consumption. So the growth of the apparent consumption that we saw in the past will continue for the future. And then I also have this dotted line in this chart on the left-hand side. This is the market share. Sorry, no, not the dotted line. The orange part in the middle of the chart here, where we show the market share. So it's a market that grows growth, in which we have a market share that has always been between 70 to 80%, and for which we have plans to grow. So we have a roadmap in which we are growing the market share. We could grow it in the last years, and we are planning to continue this leadership in the market. So, summarizing what I presented about stainless, I would put in those 4 main points here. The first is the market that has a growth because of the GDP, and also because of the projects we have to boost this consumption by finding new applications and by developing new grades, as we saw in the speech from our colleague from the research center there. The second is the market leadership we have. So as I showed in the market share, so between 70 to 80% market share, it's a very solid leadership we have in this market. It's a level competitive playing field. So we in Brazil have always been able to have trade defense measures that would avoid any unfair competition in the market. So at this very moment, we have anti-dumping against China, we have countervailing duties against Indonesia, and we have always had this eye on a fair trading market in Brazil. And the last point of the 4 I'm mentioning is the position we have in the cost curve, that I will come back to this in the coming slides. So, but what I would like to say is that we have a very good position in the cost curve that enables us to have this market leadership in Brazil. Electrical steels are also important for Aperam. And the 3 blocks here show why. The first one is the energy transition that Tim already explained. So it's unavoidable. So to move into the electric vehicles, to move into less use of fossil fuels, the use of electrical steels is a must. So that's one point that supports the importance of electrical steels for Aperam. The second is particular for Brazil. In Brazil, there are a lot of investments and a lot of plans for the years to come to increase the availability of electricity. So to make electricity available for industry and for homes in all the country. And these will boost a lot the consumption, particularly of grain-oriented electrical steels. And the last point I would like to remember in this slide is the mobility electrification. So it's a reality. So Brazil will take a bit more time to move into the electric vehicles for 2 main reasons. The first is that in Brazil today, 90% of the cars produced can run at ethanol, so it's already a sustainable solution. And the second reason is the purchasing power. So those 2 reasons make the move in Brazil a bit lower than in Europe or United States. But nevertheless, by the middle of the next decade, more than 50% of the cars produced in Brazil will be electrical hybrid. So this will also boost and is a strategic point we have in our roadmap for the future of the electrical steels in Brazil. So I spoke about people, about the market, and then a bit about our footprint. So a few points on the footprint. The first one is the integration. It's a fully integrated footprint in which we start from the charcoal and we go down to the finishing lines, as we could see in the video. So this integration makes some important points, give us some important points that I would like to remember. The first is the use of all the waste and all the scrap internally. So the blast furnace gas is used downstream. The scrap that is generated in the cutting process comes back to the melt shop. So this integration is an important point for us. The second is the flexibility. The mill is fully flexible. So as we saw in the video, we can produce electrical steels, we can produce stainless steels. We can use the blast furnace route, but we can also use the scrap route. So this flexibility, with the flexibility we showed in the product range, is really important for the resilience of this company. And then again, as I already said, and I will detail a bit more, the position in the cost curve that is somehow connected to this integration. Because we can dilute our fixed costs. We have a very, let's say, efficient supply chain internally. So this is helping us on this competitiveness. And then, well, as sorry, I'm moving back. this way. So, and another feature of this footprint that I would like to mention is the sustainability. I will talk about sustainability here from the point of view of CO2, but I could speak about the foundation that we will see afterwards, or governance, but let's focus on the CO2. This chart here, the yellow part shows our emissions of CO2 per ton of crude steel, scopes 1 and 2. For those not very familiar, Bernard will help us in the coming presentation, but I will speak about the numbers and then Bernard will explain the definitions. But again, when you look at the yellow, so is the emissions. Here I have 2 points to say. The first is that we are very well positioned in this CO2 per ton of steel if we compare with our other competitors. And this is the first point. And the second is that when we look ahead, even in a very conservative approach in which we don't improve and we don't invest and we don't change any process, we would still stay at this low level of emissions. And then we have the green part down there. The green part in the chart are the removals we have in our forest in bioenergia. So what we can see in this chart is that we have a low level of emissions, and even this low level is fully neutralized by our forest. The bars here shows the balance, and you can see that it was slightly negative in 23, then it's negative in 24, 0, and then negative again for the future. So it's interesting to see that this is a company that's CO2 neutral if we speak about scopes 1 and 2 considering removals. And why is that? I would say 3 main reasons. The first one is the use of charcoal. So to make a long story short, the trees are the best equipment we could imagine to remove CO2 from the atmosphere. So what a tree does in the photosynthesis is that it takes CO2 from the air, releases O2, oxygen, and incorporate the carbon in the wood, in the trunk of the trees. So with this, then when we produce our steel, what we do is that we take this carbon and we burn it again to CO2. But then the trees will take it again and use it again. So it's a fully renewable process in terms of the charcoal use. Completely different from using coke, in which I take a carbon that is on the earth and I burn it to CO2. So in this case, this is the first of the 3 reasons we are so low in CO2. The second is the electricity in Brazil. It was already also said in the video, but I'll give the numbers. In Brazil, in 2022, that is the last public figure we have, 92% of the electric energy in Brazil was renewable. Hydropower plants, solar or eolic. So 92%. And in Aperam, South America, 50% of the energy we use comes from the grid. So 50%, 92. The other 50% we take from a dedicated hydropower plant. So 100% renewable. So the balance for Aperam, South America is that more than 98% of the electric energy we use is renewable. So close to 100%. And then the last reason for this good result is the green part there, is the 100,000 hectares we have of planted forest that are at this very moment removing CO2 from the air, and a part of it being accumulated there in the forest. So just a statement, all this is made based on the methodology of ISO 14064. So this is the standard that we use for this certification of scopes 1 and 2, and it was certified by external bodies, okay? So with this I conclude the three pillars I would like you to have in mind to explain the business there in Brazil: people, market, footprint, and then I will show where we are with all those assets and what we plan for the years to come. One important point, as I spoke a bit about flexibility, the position in the cost curve, and all the flexibility, resilience we can bring from this flexibility. And the chart on the left-hand side shows this. So what we can see here is that this company, even in the difficult years of car wash scandal in Brazil, the recession we had in 2016, actually the recession was 14-15, and even the COVID, this company has always delivered a three-digit, close to three-digit EBITDA. Even in the difficult year of 2023, it was a positive result. So what we see with this EBITDA of the company is that it's a resilient company that resists very well in the low cycles and take a lot of benefit from the high cycles. And this is due to how I tried to explain in those three main pillars there. And as I said, the position in the cost curve. This schematic cost curve you have in your right-hand slide chart here shows the cost of my competitors plus the import duties and logistics to bring material to Brazil, comparing to Aperam. So we can see that even the very competitive units that are supplying to Brazil cannot be as competitive as we are in our own market. So no one can beat us in our market in terms of costs. And how do you look at our strategy for the future? I would put it in 4 pillars. The first one is competitiveness increase. So, okay, we are well positioned in the cost curve, but we cannot sleep with that. We know we are in a business with a lot of overcapacity, with a lot of ups and downs, as Tim showed. And we know that one of the main assets to survive is the competitiveness. So here we have a lot of actions. We have initiatives to increase the use of scrap. In Brazil, as I said, we can produce using electric arc furnaces. We have 2 electric arc furnaces. We have limitations of availability of scrap, but we are ready to increase the use and take opportunities from the market. We have a lot of actions on productivity, Industry 4.0, all the initiatives that we can use to bring more productivity and more competitiveness to the business. This company has a culture of continuous improvement. Everything we do one year, we try to do better than we made in the year before, and this forever. So this is what brings part of the gains and part of the competitiveness you could see in the cost curve. A second big block on our strategy is mix improvement. When I say that the market in Brazil is growing and we are growing our market share, this is a mix improvement, because instead of selling carbon steels, I sell stainless steel. Instead of exporting stainless in an oversupplied market, I sell in the domestic market where I have advantages, I have trade defense measures. Also electrical steels, we are improving the mix day by day. The grades we produce today, most of them were not in our portfolio 10 years ago, not most, all of them were not in our portfolio 10 years ago. And I'm sure that the products I will have next year are better than the ones I have this year. So this is a mix improvement through which we improve our margins. NGO is a similar issue. The development of applications like electric vehicles are bringing grades that have a better profitability than the ones we have as commodity grades in GNO. Still talking about mix improvement, at this very moment, actually, at the end of today, Brazilian time, we'll be starting up the new hot rolling mill in Timóteo plant. So an investment that started 2 years ago, and we are concluding really right now. Today is the day. And with these investments, we are able to produce grades at wider width that we were not able to produce before. Again, mix improvements that are bringing better results for us. We have capacity increase. We have a capacity increase roadmap. So as I said, we have a focus in Brazil. We have a leadership in Brazil, and it's a market that is growing. So we do have a roadmap in which we can increase our capacity. And I don't need to tell you that it's much easier for us that already have a footprint in Brazil, that have a hot phase that has some spare capacity and we produce carbon. It's much easier for us to invest and follow the market growth than for anyone else in this business. And my last pillar of this strategy is the sustainability. But sustainability, I will not speak about reducing CO2 or about less use of water. Here, the point I would like you to have in mind is the business that comes with these sustainability ESG issues. We want to promote low CO2 grades, to have a premium on that. We want to take profit of markets connected to the low CO2. For example, the picture in the middle that I think Sud will speak a bit is the bio-oil. This was a byproduct that didn't have any use in the recent past and that today we sell. We sell as a fuel with zero CO2. So a lot of new opportunities we believe will come out of the business of low CO2. So this is the fourth pillar I would like you to have in mind when I speak about my strategy for the years to come. So to wrap up, well, what have I said in those 20 minutes I'm here? First point are the differentiators this company have. The first one is the engaged and performing team we have there. We have a unique market position. So we are leaders in a market that is growing, in a market in which we have competitive advantages. It's a flexible multi-product business. So we can, as I said, produce stainless steel, I can produce electrical steels, and I can change the amount of each of those. It's a competitive unit. Our position in the cost curve is good. And this is due to the costs in Brazil, so the costs we have in Brazilian reais, but also due to the fact that most of my suppliers are in Brazil. So all my ferronickel comes from Brazil, my ferrochrome comes from Brazil, my scrap comes from Brazil, my iron ore comes from Brazil. So this gives us a good competitive base. And also a future-proof environmental setup. When we see companies trying to use hydrogen in the blast furnaces, trying to change from the blast furnace to DII, so all those moves, Brazilian footprint is already prepared for the needs because we are already producing via 100% through charcoal that, as I explained, is a renewable fuel. And then in the middle here, we can see the resilience and the future of this company. So a company that has always shown a good level of EBITDA and that we expect to increase. I like the chart Tim showed in which we see the cycles, but we see the cycles and we are in each low cycle less low than in the previous one and each high cycle higher than in the previous one. This is the idea I want these charts in the middle to give you. And then when we look ahead, so we have the competitiveness initiatives that we are adopting that should maintain or even improve our cost position. I repeat what I said, so debottlenecking and upgrade investments. So the small investments, if we compare with a newcomer, that can make us ready for the growth of the market and for the opportunities of the market. Volume and mix improvement, what I said of a market that is growing, a mix that is improving, and that we are ready to take profit out of it. And the CO2 economy that I mentioned. And then I come to my very last slide. Aperam South America will celebrate in the 31st of October of this year its 80th anniversary. And the best image I can have of this company now is that it is a 80-year-old child. It's a child because it has a bright future ahead. I see much more opportunities than threats, but it has 80 years. So it has a reputation, it has a history, it has solidity of a company of 80 years. So with that, I close my speech here. Thank you all for the attention, and I invite you for the coffee break that will be downstairs where you entered. Thank you.